Welcome to Taking the Higher Road. I'm Leah Shaver, President and CEO of the National Transportation Institute. Each week, we interview industry experts and thought leaders who bring their insights to the driver life cycle as we discuss the industry's greatest challenges, recruiting and retention of your valuable workforce. I'd like to thank and highlight the show's valuable sponsors. Their dedication and commitment to the industry and to this show is so appreciated. On today's episode, I am thrilled to be chatting with Josh Hankins, Senior Vice President of Safety, Security, and Driver Personnel at JB Hunt. Josh is one of the leaders behind innovation and implementation of technologies and programs at one of the most forward looking companies in America. As he puts it, and I love this take, one of the core elements of accomplishing the large change management projects that he helps oversee and steer is listening. Listening to those across the organization, but especially to professional drivers, as he seeks a deep understanding of their experience with ongoing communication and engagement, as well as jumping in cab and seeing firsthand how their jobs are shaped by the changes that he and his team implement. And those topics are exactly what our conversation today will focus on. Josh, welcome to Taking the Higher Road.
Hey, Leah, thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
It's good to see you. We have so many great topics that we are going to dive into, and I'm excited to start here. One thing that I've always admired and appreciated about JB Hunt is an emphasis on not only growing in the house we're in today and with the drivers that we have today, but also the idea that we're building the future of our company with the families and within community. There's no better showcase of that commitment than with this children's book that JB Hunt recently published. It's in my hot little hand. I ordered my copies never so quickly as I did right here. It's about a little girl who is so proud of her father, a professional truck driver, and how that pride is infectious amongst her peers, her classmates, and in her community. So tell us how this book is intended to connect within JB Hunt's community, instill pride in being a driver or related to a driver, and how this story connects to your own personal story as to why you entered the industry.
Yeah, I'll start with me personally first, Leah. You know, I resonated with this book a lot because I'm the grandson of a truck driver. One of the parts of the story is where her dad gets to bring his truck to her class specifically, gets to show it off, and all the kids get excited about it. I was that kid in first grade for show and tell. I asked my teacher, "Can my grandpa bring his truck to school?" And I felt like a superhero the way that she does, the way that the book illustrates her being trucker kid. And at first there was a little bit of her classmates didn't understand her, but once she told the story, it resonated. And I think in society we got to experience a lot of that through the COVID pandemic. I think that helped us realize supply chain wise how much our professional truck drivers mean to us as a society. We got to live that out firsthand, and it's been fun watching that take place in America since that. But that's always been at the heartbeat of us here at JB Hunt. Founded by a truck driver, we're here for our professional truck drivers. All of us realize that we would not have a job without the work that they do for us each and every single day. And so, as I've transitioned into the safety role, that's been at the heartbeat of what I've wanted to do culturally is make sure everybody in our organization understands how they can contribute to that truck driver having a great day out on the road.
It's so true. Every single person, maybe did you say this to me that like everyone in the organization is going to be in touch with every driver at some point today.
Yeah.
All of them, all of us are solely responsible for that interaction and the safe outcomes of their journey. So, what a great way to impress ourselves upon an individual, but also within the community. We're going to have to post a picture and a link of how folks can order their copy, just like I did with the maybe fewer limits on quantity. So this is a great segue into giving our audience a quick look into your role and your background. So give us a tour of Josh Hankins, your current responsibilities, which you mentioned, and then how your career arc evolved over the years.
Yeah. So I've been with JB Hunt nearly 20 years. I started part time while going to the University of Arkansas, actually inside of our driver personnel department. I was one of the people taking applications over the phone for folks that wanted to come work at JB Hunt. I transitioned into our operations ranks where I've spent most of my career. Most recently, prior to this role, the last 7 years, I've had responsibility for our dedicated operations on the West Coast. And then I transitioned into safety, security, and driver personnel at the beginning of this year, stepping into this role.
Wow. Well, for all of us who have a recruiting background, which is a lot listening, you took us back for a little throwback when you mentioned taking applications over the phone. We've all done it. We've all been there. And
And
I
I'm
guess
still
I say
amazed a
we've
little bit,
all,
right?
quite frankly, there's a lot of folks working in recruiting who are like, "What? You did what?"
So,
Because, it's hard enough to get connected, right, in
you know,
the day-to-day on the phone, let alone to take a full application. But anyway, that's how we got started, people.
it is.
Well, Josh, you lead and are otherwise heavily involved in evaluating and implementing safety technologies into JB Hunt's operation. Let's dive into those areas because JB Hunt is and has long been a leader in our industry on those fronts, and other companies look up to you and often follow the blueprint that you establish. I want to talk specifically about autonomous technology and AI in the cab because you have some really insightful feedback based on your experience over the past few years in executing the technology adoption and how fleets can communicate effectively with their drivers throughout any technology adoption cycle. And I just want to point out that I think adoption of technology is one component, but a very important component, maybe even more so, is that communication through the execution. So I'm very curious as to what you have to say here.
Yeah, I appreciate the opportunity. Something JB Hunt's always prided ourselves on, taking pride in is being an early adopter, but we don't ever just want to adopt technology to adopt technology. We want to make sure we're doing it with a purpose. And so when you talk about the autonomous piece, there are a lot of great developments going on, and we've got great relationships across that space. But our focus from JB Hunt, from a JB Hunt perspective, is really this: is what are we going to do to put a safer truck on the road today? That's the right thing to do. And so, how do we leverage these technologies and how it's rapidly developing to enhance the driver experience while the driver's in the cab? Having had the opportunity to visit with these autonomous providers and the technology that's on this truck, I believe from my seat that we absolutely can put a safer truck on the road while the driver is still behind the wheel. And as those autonomous technologies evolve over time, then we can look to how to enhance the driver experience and how to make a safer roadway today inside of America.
So, autonomy is not so much a driver out solution, but rather one that makes a driver's job safer and more secure, frankly.
That's exactly right. Driver out is something that people talk about inside of this space, but I absolutely look at it as a driver enhancement technology. I don't look at it as we have to get to driver out tomorrow.
Well, JB Hunt has implemented inward facing cameras in 100% of the fleet. This is something where a small fleet, this can be an insurance keeping type strategy. It can be an insurance affordability strategy. So I know that this is going to resonate with a lot of folks as this one can be kind of sensitive with professional drivers.
Right.
Tell us about the transition over the last few years. What prompted you to undertake adopting this technology? What was the change management process like internally as you work to execute it? And how does AI factor into that as part of your safety program?
Yeah, a lot there. So I'll touch kind of on our whole journey here. So the adoption of inward facing cameras, it started with us as a pilot. It is something that we said, hey, let's go look and see what's happening in this space from a technological standpoint. And we got really specific in targeting some of our agricultural type accounts and operations that we execute. And the reason for that is we thought that there was an opportunity to prevent things like tip overs or rollovers on more rural roads that don't have shoulders and some of the support today. And as we got into that, we were able to validate it. And so we were able to validate our findings. We were able to validate the support that it gave our drivers and the coaching opportunity. And so that was really the launching point for us on inward facing cameras. And then you made a great point. I think that given I was an operator when we started this rollout process and then transitioned into this role kind of midstream. But I would say from an operations standpoint is we were able to get buy-in from our operational leaders. And once we got that buy-in, our operational leaders we were able to go in front of our drivers and we were able to show how this technology impacted them in a positive way. When you think about a driver roundtable and having a conversation with a driver, I think for me, what was powerful was being able to put a video of an event that happened on the road in front of a group of drivers and saying, hey, before this was a safety event that was a he said, she said. And because there's no video evidence, your driving record's probably going to take a hit. The police report would have come back negative. The person, the non-professional driver involved in that event was going to say it was the driver's fault. And then we were able to show how inward-facing cameras, coupled with the other safety technologies, were able to exonerate drivers in certain situations. We were able to protect drivers' careers. We're able to protect their driving record that they worked so incredibly hard to keep clean. And it turned out to be a benefit for the driver, and it turned out to be a benefit for us. And down and have conversations about, okay, I see the benefit here. Now talk to me about how invasive this is. And so one of the opportunities that we explain to every driver is, hey, the first time you do something wrong, that technology is not automatically recording and sending something to your manager. The way that we have our technology set up is the driver gets 2 opportunities to correct a behavior. And let's hypothetically say a driver was looking at a cell phone and they were looking at the phone while driving. It'll say distracted driving in the cab. Give that driver an opportunity to correct the behavior. If they do not, they get a second opportunity. Again, in-cab alert, distracted driving. On that third opportunity, if they have not corrected that behavior, it's going to take a video, it's going to send it to their manager, and we're going to have a coaching opportunity. And so outside of the safety area, I think the other way that it's benefited us is it's benefited us in coaching opportunities. When you think about training to retain drivers, you don't ever want to turn a driver over. And this has created a ton of training opportunity that's been very beneficial for us. The last thing I'll add there as well is we've got a lot of tenured drivers at JB Hunt, and we're grateful for their commitment. And one of my favorite things through this transition has been some of our more tenured drivers that I've got relationships with, and they've come back and said, until that inward-facing camera video came across, I had not realized the bad habits I had developed. I didn't realize I was looking down at my phone that many times, and most of us don't. It's a technology. It's become a part of our society and part of what we do. And that inward-facing camera has really softened some people to say, hey, I had some bad habits that needed to be corrected. And they've embraced that because we've been willing to listen and work with them, not just shove something down their throat.
Your point about bad habits brings to mind a conversation I frequently had on air when I'm working at SiriusXM. Sometimes when I've got drivers on the phone, it's a live call-in show, and I'll hear certain alerts over and over again, and they just seem to keep happening. Driver doesn't seem to really be bothered by them. So I want to talk about in-cab alerts, both from the autonomous safety technology and camera systems. How do you approach managing the frequency and the reception of these in-cab alerts? And how do you work with drivers when they receive them? Have drivers received feedback or had feedback for you about that process?
Yeah. So in-cab alerts has been a journey for us really the last 18 months or so. We are going on something internally that we're calling the quiet cockpit. Um, when we first, well, let me back up and say this. We had some experienced drivers as we were layering on new technologies that we thought were helpful come to us and say, hey, I don't know why this truck's going off, but I've either got a buzzer or a light going off every time I'm driving down the road. And we took that opportunity to sit down and get in our driver's environment. And Leah, we had 253 different types of alerts that were going off inside the cab. Yeah. They were either visual, they were either audio, or they were haptic in some sort of way. So some sort of vibration alert. And so through this quiet cockpit technique, we've been able to eliminate 160 of those. And they were duplicitous. We either had added technology aftermarket after the fact, or we've worked with our OEM partners to say, hey, you're giving a visual and an audible alert here. Let's only focus on the visual or only focus on the audible. And so we got quality assurance folks that are specifically dedicated to working with our drivers on this quiet cockpit technique, and continuing to enhance the experience for the drivers. The last thing you want as you layer on a new technology is for something to become white noise, right? You want this technology on for a reason, but it has to be effective. And if it's not effective, then it's not going to work for the driver. It's going to create frustration. And that's going to create frustration conversations for managers as well.
Well, I'm glad to get your insight on that. It's eye-opening and maybe something we talk about on air next time as well, just to replant that seed in terms of our listener base, not just our JB Hunt drivers. Okay, let's switch gears. So, one other thing I'm curious about, having worked across departments at a fleet myself, and then in nearly 10 years at NTI, interfacing with so many different roles and departments within so many different types of fleets, is your transition from operations into safety. And we didn't even know about the talent acquisition aspect in your internship, so we should have plugged that in here too. And now risk management. It seems to be a very fine appreciation from your background as to what it takes to make a penny, and now how easily it is to spend tens of millions of pennies in a safety focused position on prevention, of course, not the other way around. How has it been being on both sides of the fence, and what excites you about being in a risk management role after coming from operations side of the fleet?
Yeah, I think I'll start with the latter part of that question. What excites me is just the ability to make an impact. It's not easy to go out here and make a penny. To your point, our professional drivers work extremely hard, and our frontline operations work extremely hard to support them. And so, if there's anything that we can do from an innovative technology standpoint or from a process improvement standpoint that can impact the quality of a driver's life, the quality of a driver's training, and enhance our ability to make money, we have to do that. The trucking industry, it's tough to make a penny, to your point, especially over the course of this last 18 months. We've been in a freight recession. And so, as hard as that is, we want to make sure that we are being extremely strategic with where our focus is. That aligns with something that's going to enhance the driver's life as they're out here generating revenue for our company.
JB Hunt is, I think, one of the most innovative fleets in the country. And that means a lot more than just technology. Another great example is how your company is at the forefront of shaping how the driving job continues to change and evolve. The driving job on day one at JB Hunt is so far from the job of today, and even the job of 5 to 10 years ago, and is much different than the job your drivers will do later this year and next year, and so on. Many companies have trouble getting stuck in the type of work that they offer, and it's really a hindrance to their ability to grow. This is, again, from my perspective, working with a lot of different sizes of fleets and types of companies. Um, that hindrance to grow makes it difficult to meet demands of customers, but also the needs of the workforce of today and especially of tomorrow. So, tell us how the job at JB Hunt has shifted over the years and why that's been such a critical part of the company's core value.
Yeah. JB Hunt, we started as an over the road company. You would have to be gone a minimum of 30 days and be out on the road, and you never knew where you were going next. That is not the case today. Our driver personnel slogan is better job, better life. And that's what we're interested in providing for our drivers. If you were to look, I think the easy way to look at it is if you were to look at the length of haul of what a driver was doing 600 to 700 miles 30, 40 years ago, our average length of haul is around 160 to 200 miles today. And so that does create an environment where a driver has the opportunity to really create a career at JB Hunt. If you want to start over the road and you want to go see the country, we absolutely have those jobs. If you want a regional job and you can be home 1 or 2 times a week, we've got those jobs. And then you've got local jobs where you're home every single night, and that's primarily in our dedicated or our JBI fleets. And so you've got the ability to start at on that over the road and work your way into a local job over time. And if we can provide that better job, we're convinced that we can give drivers a better life here at JB Hunt over the course of their career. You no longer have to hop around and go work for multiple companies to go from being out 1 or 2 nights a week to a local job. We've got the full gamut here at JB Hunt to offer to you. And having that career path has been something on the driver personnel side that we've been able to really explain and create a whole career path.
Articulating is the key point here, not just creating career path, but being able to articulate it. These are things that we say every day at NTI. So it's exciting to hear. Um, You've shared something else with me that I'm going to share here
It
publicly. Hopefully, that's cool. Your outlook on driver supply relative to the freight market. And I think we should talk about this in reference to the folks listening. The sustainability of driver supply, should things change in the current market. You've been watching this. You've had insights into as to what we can expect and prepare for, and how JB Hunt might be preparing to meet the needs of drivers when hiring trends shift.
Yeah, I think there's a couple things here, and this is an exciting topic, but you know, drivers are in the marketplace looking for jobs, and it's a matter of fit. And so when the supply versus demand, when that dam or levee finally breaks, there is going to be some driver movement in the marketplace for sure. One of the things we talked about the other day, Leah, is the almost 200,000 drivers going into prohibitive status. Um, the way that we hired JB Hunt, we don't see that having an immediate impact on us because we typically have a higher experience level, but are in a labor market with drivers that you have more people retiring than you're gonna. So I can sit here and say it's not going to impact us day one, but 12 months from now, that is going to have an impact. And so one of the things at JB Hunt that we've specifically done over the last 24 months is we have created our apprenticeship hire program. And so it's partnering with schools and strategic markets to be able to hire a driver straight out of school for a job and be able to have an enhanced training process for that driver once they get into JB Hunt. We have seen that pay dividends for us. And so that's been a great avenue.
Let's touch on one more topic, and then we'll move on to thinking about more holiday. Your department, Fleet Safety and Risk Management, is in charge of safety, of course, but the reach and extension of how we view safety across our organization is so much broader than just you and your team. How do you spread that?
To make sure everybody at our organization understands this is that you play a role in how that driver's day goes. Whether you're the person processing payroll and making sure that paycheck shows up on time and correctly, whether you're the person helping somebody battle through detention, everybody in our organization is working to enhance and make sure that driver has a great day, an efficient day, and a stress-free day. And, kind of tying it back to the beginning of the book, right? Is that's what we want to do. We want to make sure the people in our organization, we want to make sure the people in our community, we want to make sure our customers, everybody understands that we're here to support that driver. It's not an easy job. They are seen, they are heard, and we appreciate what they do.
Awesome. Well, Trucker Kid, it's available now. It came to me very quickly, and it might be a little large for a stocking stuffer, but it sits right on top, right in that open area. Pick up your copy. I got a copy enough for two of my employees' kiddos. I need more. I'm going to talk to my people, your people, whatever we have to do.
We are working on
I'm
it, I promise
I
you.
appreciate it, Josh. I'm looking forward to seeing you grow, to seeing JB Hunt grow in future years. Happy holidays to you and to all of the folks on your team and in your family. And thank you for joining me today.
Thanks for the opportunity, Leah. It's been great time.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
As always, when we end this show, thank you for joining us on another episode of Taking the Higher Road. But this week, as we launch the holiday season, I want to extend a particularly humble and sincere expression of our gratitude to you, our audience. It's your great feedback that keeps us on the hunt for the next inspiring interview and makes us particularly grateful and thankful for being able to produce this show every single. Higher Road touches the success of a professional driver delivering safely every day. Thank you for all you do day in and day out, all year long, but especially on Taking the Higher Road. From my team at NTI, from my family to yours, I wish you a safe, warm, peaceful holiday season filled with love and joy. And until next time, thank you, Taking the Higher Road.